apps. Yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much, Charlene. And Bev, you are set to go. There is nobody else right now, and I'll let them in if they show up a little bit later, okay?
Well, welcome to everyone who's on our screen right now, and we expect more, and we will add them on as they come. And if not, we have hit the record button so that this will be available to share to other people at a later time that might be more convenient to their schedules. So the session you're joining right now is called Junk and Low Cost Resources, Treasures for Learning at School and Home. And I'd love for you to enter into the chat your name and your position, where you're from, and share one of your ideas for using low cost or repurposed resources to enhance learning. And if you don't have an idea that already pops into your head, feel free to answer that question as we start rolling through our presentation today. And I had to put a picture there. Where should you never take your dog? And the reason I put that there is because we like to talk about places to get low cost kinds of things. And well, a flea market would be a great choice. And those two characters there just happen to be my grand dog. So that's why they were included today with what we're doing. So I'm moving on. I'm Bev Schumacher, and I am here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we woke up to temperatures just above freezing this morning. And when you expect to see my partner, Vicki Robinson, she did not have an opportunity to join us today. She had another obligation to fulfill. So that's why Jeff is very kindly filling in from the Lone Star side of our cooperative arrangement, working with each other. And we come from Learning Props, and what we offer are sources for family engagement. So learning resources can be created using repurposed or low-cost materials. Why would you do that? Because many of us face funding challenges, and we can minimize them when creative educators turn to using low or no-cost resources to extend learning. We hope that you will find ideas in the session today to support learning and ideas to invite families to use these inexpensive ideas as you partner with them. I use the phrase school plus home equals learning. If you've heard any of my other webinars that we've already done, you will realize that that is something I say every time because it's so important. Just like saying I love you to your family is so important. The idea of schools working with homes to impact learning is just a critical thought that we can achieve when we are inviting parents to join us. So I'm going to ask you as we go through the session today to share your ideas in the chat. You can confirm an idea that I have put out there or that someone else posts. You can add a modification to an activity. You say, oh, well, we've done something like that. So feel free to add that kind of an idea as well, or suggest another idea to inspire others who are watching with us, who are watching at a time later of what they can do. So the next slide talks about the ideas of the benefits to using low cost or no cost repurposed kinds of materials. There were handouts for the session today. It's a 2-page handout, and Jeff did post those for you. If you need him to share them again to you or something, just reach out in the chat and tell Jeff what it is that you need. But this is one of the slides that is on that handout that I have provided. So why would we want to use low cost and repurposed materials? Budget. Great reason for why we would want to use these ideas. But they're also very friendly to the environment to use something again before it is discarded. It also is a great affirmation to families that learning activities are possible with the resources that they have in their homes. If they see an idea done with an egg carton, the next time there's an empty egg carton in their household, they may say, oh my gosh, I remember when I did this. And it may allow an activity to be repeated at another time that they now have an idea planted for. It also empowers families to do things without buying expensive gadgets and toys. Especially at this time of year, families are beginning to think about their holiday shopping, and sometimes those expensive gadgets just are not worth the value for children's purpose of learning. So what inspired this session? Well, I'll start with one thing called 45 years of being in education. I have done home visits. I have worked with child care centers. I have worked coaching teachers in early childhood classrooms. I have worked as a parent involvement coordinator. So those 45 years give me kind of a foundation. I also was raised by parents who were from the Depression. We saved everything. My father saved a nail he pulled out of something and pounded it straight again so it could be used again. I've also been accused of having a creative spirit. I have worked in classrooms with children who learn best with manipulative resources, and recycled low-cost things can make awesome manipulative resources to engage those active learners. Perhaps I have a little bit of an addiction or a fascination with shopping for resale kinds of materials at discount shops or curbside finds, are also garage sales. You'll notice that picture there, that really lovely red couch. It's one of my favorite pieces of furniture because when you sit on either side of it, it's kind of makes you turn your body to see your partner, and it makes for lovely conversations. My family was horrified when I brought that off of the curb and brought it home. My husband, however, did not have any idea that there was things to be alarmed with when I walked in the door from my morning walk and said, "Come on, we're getting in the van. We're going to go pick something up." So he understood my addiction and probably was just as guilty of being an investor in recycled materials as I was. But again, we always go back to the same reason. Funding needs do encourage us to reutilize materials that we can. So where can low-cost treasures be found? Again, this is on your handout. Garage sales offer a great variety of things that can be used, but because they're one of a kind or limited opportunities, we're staying away from sharing those ideas in this session. But I bet you have some wonderful stories, those of you who have some of my traits of saving things and reutilizing things might already have. But discount stores, there's a variety of stores in that category, depending upon your location and the name. Many of them have dollar in them or savings in them. They're great places to look for resources. Saved recycles, things that you can save, that staff members can save for you, that families can save, that grandparents can save. Be sure you let them know because they tend to be better savers than their children or grandchildren are. Or also think about recycle centers or some type of a surplus type store. So when we start talking about reutilizing these things, we first have to turn on our thinking of, we have to make sure that everything is safe. And there's 3 elements to the safety I want to point out. One of them is utilizing small parts. So Jeff, does my image show up there, or I don't see my picture. Is it there?
Safety first.
Can you see my picture there?
Is it end back two in a egg carton?
That's the picture, but I'm holding something up. Can you see my image on the screen?
Hold up a little bit more, Bev. There we go. That's better.
Okay. This little gadget is called a small parts choke tube. So what this little tube has is 2 dimensions. There's one element of height and one of diameter. And this is on the handouts, but it's also on the second page of the handouts as well. The one dimension is heights. So one quick way to kind of measure that height is anything that's taller than a Q-tip would be a safe part. It's something children can't choke on. Look at this cap to a pen and see how that fits in there. So that sticks up about 1/4 of an inch. Very, very safe idea, because that means it's something not likely to go down the throat of a child. But many pen companies have added to the end also an air hole, little perforation so that air would continue to go through it. So even those not in the toy industry do utilize this kind of a safety measure. The other thing you need to know is the diameter. So the diameter of a cap that comes off of a water bottle or a soft drink bottle would fall right in there. I had it jammed in there earlier today, so I'm not going to drop it in that you can see that. But if I move on to take the lid off of a container that came from a milk carton, that one does not fit in there. So think in terms of diameter, something that is as big as the cap on your milk carton or bigger. This is a part that is very often used in games, and notice how it fits in there just as completely as possible. That's something that could cause a child to choke. When I started making games, I said it has to be something that's safe for children to utilize. So we came up with our own type of mover for the games that we have created so that there's a handle to it, which is the same grasp that they use for holding a pencil, but also it does not fit in there. It also helped that I married an engineer in the toy industry, and he knew all of those rules. The second thing we want to talk about is not having sharp edges. So a sharp edge would be even a piece of plastic that's been cut can have a fairly sharp edge and cut children's fingers. So the way we prevent that is take any cut edge that has a potential of being sharp and covering it with masking tape in order to keep that edge protected. And the third thing is sanitizing. Do you see those egg cartons that are shown there? Those egg cartons could contain salmonella. So how do you treat them? You can use the same solution that's used in any classroom in the United States that has some solution of bleach and agents that will kill bacteria, but you also can find spray products that do that as well. How did I find out about this little safety precaution? It's a whole story in itself, but let me just say that state inspector did not write us up for using an egg carton in the classroom, but he did kindly explain to me why that was not a safe commodity to use. But once they've been sprayed and treated or rinsed through a solution of bleach, they are safe to be used in the classroom. The foam ones, they do tend to be easier to clean. The ones that are more of a cardboard type material, those may be better sprayed. We would spray the egg carton top and bottom and seal it in a plastic bag and leave them for about 24 hours. And you could tell when you open them up that there wasn't any survivals of bacteria. It really would smell quite strongly. Another thing we need to talk about as we get started is establishing an organization system. Make sure that you have shelving and labeled boxes. That is a framework for keeping what you are saving organized. Your treasures need to be put together in a way you can find them. When you are creating storage boxes, though, label both ends of the box. So if somebody pulls something out of the box and flips it back up on the shelf, that you still know what's in that. And make sure you always label the box, not the lid, because it's so easy for a lid to come off of one box and be placed on another, and pretty soon your system is totally disorganized. You see those two pictures of organization? I do not claim that is my organization system, but it is somebody that I taught with or did workshops with. So yes, she was definitely much more organized than me. So also think about how you can adopt ideas from your peers. So visit other classrooms if you are in a center with multiple classrooms. Talk to other educators. And remember, I ask you to put an idea in the chat. So think of some ideas that you can put in the chat and visit websites and other places where those ideas might be shared. This container of plastic containers and lids was found in one of my classrooms when I was visiting. And I said, oh my gosh, what a cool idea. And so I took that to the staff meeting, and the rest of the staff went, oh my gosh, what a great idea. So in the water table or a bin, if that's all you have, there was just a collection of different sized bottles with lids, and all of those could be paired up to those bottles. So it was a great activity. And when you think about what's going on, you think about the motions that little wrist is taking in order to put those lids off and on, you understand the small motor development that's happening. I'm going to ask you to take away 3 ideas today. So both on the front of your handouts and then also on the back, there's places for you to jot down some ideas. Believe me, at the end of the hour, you might say, oh my gosh, what did I all see? So if something triggers your thinking, make sure that you make a note about it. And I'm going to ask you to think outside the box, adopt and adapt ideas. So maybe say, oh, that won't work, but if I did this, it would. Learn from others. Your next best idea might be shared in the chat in this session. Keep a folder of ideas that click with you. If you put the idea in a folder and the next time you're looking for a new idea to try something, you can shuffle through again and something may then fit that you weren't currently doing at the time for that idea to be implemented. Make parents your partners. I have spent 10 years as a parent involvement coordinator, and one thing I learned over and over again is that families are very willing partners in educating their students. But to gain their support, they need 3 things. They need to be informed of what their child is learning so they know what they need to support. They need to know that they can make a difference, so invite them to engage in those kinds of learning activities that their student will benefit from. And you will need to equip them with ideas, resources, and experiences. If they come into a workshop and they leave your building with an activity in hand, I can guarantee you that activity will be implemented. If you give them an idea and say, go home and find this, it may not happen as readily. So we're going to start with the idea of puppets. Everybody loves puppets, but we can make them in so many different ways. So the first one you see on the left is made with craft sticks and with a die cut machine. And the base of that puppet holder is an egg carton that we cut slits in the carton and through the fabric in order to drop those puppet handles into. And on the end is a paper towel roll. So there's your resource to do 5 monkeys jumping on the bed. Introduce it in class and send it home for families to use. The next one are paper plates that I purchased at my dollar type store in my community. They were so absolutely cute, and there were just different animals that children could choose from. So we cut holes where the eyes were and we added a handle to it, and bravo, there we have a project for the kids to do. The one on the end is the absolutely cheapest guy you can possibly find. And all it is corrugated, and it's got a handle added to the back. And there is my wonderful bear. So who is that bear? It could be Goldilocks and the 3 bears. It could be going on a bear hunt. It could be the Bernstein bear. So there's so many different characters it could be. So it's adaptable for different lessons and different times. So send the words home for parents with a finger play, and then send home a storybook that they can use to tell the story with their puppets. How did I make those puppets? Well, these are the puppets that I made for telling the brown bear story. And as I said, I started with just a picture. This came out of a coloring book, and I did a grid work square over the top of that puzzle. And then I took my corrugated and I made larger squares on here. And so now when a parent comes in, I can just say, here, trace this. So here I have the pattern, and you can see how many lines are on that thing. It has been well used. So what they're going to do is trace around that bear and trace the hole for the nose. Actually, they're coloring the nose in. They're adding the half circle. They're adding the J hook for the mouth. And then we're cutting the eyes out. I don't always provide the utility tools to cut those out at the center. They can take those home and do that. You'll see I also did another character there, and it was more of a farmer looking guy. So he was Farmer in the Dell, and he was Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and he was many different characters as well. Other puppets can be made from kitchen gadgets. So starting with the picture in the middle, the first one is a vegetable masher with a stocking pulled over the top and some yarn added to the top. The next one is an empty soft drink bottle, and we just put a sock over the top of it to cover the base. And then we put different faces in there to tell the story that we were talking about. It could be pictures of the children's faces, members of their families. It could be characters from a story. The next one is a well-used spoon. but we used just colored dots on that spoon to be able to decorate them. So think of a bunch of wooden spoons that you could pick up for a very low cost made into puppets. The next one is a hand glove, and that is just a glove with letters glued on. So there was a farmer, had a dog, and bingo, and there's your prop in order to tell the bingo story or the bingo song. And after you've done it for a little while, you lay that out in your learning center, and you will have that song sung over and over, and the practice of 5 letters over and over. On the lower right are some plastic lids. Those happen to be off of raisin containers, but oatmeal containers work just as well. But notice a very colorful faces that you can just draw on to become your puppets. And the last picture there on this picture on this slide is hand puppets that were made by the children. And again, if we give them something to put them into so that they have a puppet stand, much more likely that all the pieces will be maintained together and used for at least a short period of time. But these were the children's hands, and we could have done something related to fish or something swimming. Making different puzzles. One of the easiest things to do is to get a placemat, those foamy type placemats, and just cut it into a puzzle pattern. The other thing there that you see is a cereal box, and you could use the cereal box as the puzzle and cut it apart, or you could turn it over and use the blank side in order to make your own puzzle for children to use. These are projects that are done with a bag. So notice the ABC. Imagine XYZ further down the table or along a shelf somewhere, where children could match items into each of the bags and sort them out. Think about having bags with colors, bags of different animals, different shapes, colors. Think of all the variety of different themes and topics, and they fold up real neatly, and you can get them out at another time. The next one to it, it says share resources. That was a brown bag. We added a note to it for a research project that I was doing. We included things to support the family in practicing color. So they had a glue bottle. They had crayons, 11 different crayons of the 11 colors that we taught in the program. We gave them dots that were just circle dots peeled off of a sheet, and we just cut them into strips and then colored them. If you have parents color them, they will again be reinforced to tell you, oh, these are the colors the teacher wants me to practice at home. These are the colors my students should know. We also sent home stickers with color words on them, different colors of construction paper, and a little mini book. In the research project, we found that families spent 25 minutes on the average utilizing this simple bag of resources for the family to use. And on the very bottom is something we called a me bag. It could be the me bag you take out to go on a nature walk. At this time of year, many of you are in parts of the country where you could pick up leaves. There are nature items you could pick up. You could go on an Easter egg hunt and so many other experiences. But when each child carries their bag to put their things into, and please add the handles, it's just a pipe cleaner twisted through the top of the bag. It makes such a difference. They are just love carrying things that have handles. So we've always added handles. These are some ideas of what I call as bag books. So again, these are just using simple bags, whichever size you choose to use. So the first one you see on the slide, it says the letter after C is. And what happens is the flap gets lifted and the answer gets put on the back side of this flap. So when it's closed, you don't see the answer. When it's pulled open, you see the answer. So the one next to it was a shopping bag size. A baby cat is A, and we cut out a picture of a kitten and had the label kitten put there. So as they went through this book, they could answer simple questions and find the answer under the flap. The next one on the bottom was made out of a gift bag. So it was an open bag on the top. We cut off one of the side panels, and then the opposite side was folded in half so that we had about an inch space, inch and a half space to be able to put the pieces of paper together, whether that's with staples or binders of some sort. And it became a book that the children could write in, and you could hang them in the classroom so other children could pick up the books and look at them. The next one is something I call a flap book. So made, it looks like this. Two types of handles I'm showing you there. One of them is made with a pipe cleaner handle, and the other one is made with a type of handle that would be more typical to a suitcase or a toolbox. So just different types of handles. Again, kids like the handle, so add a handle on. So the way this book works is that the flap holds down the book, and when it opens up, here are some pieces of paper so they can write something and then seal it with the flap. And there is their simple book. I had someone from a Montessori school that I shared a bookmaking workshop with, and she said, oh, when we got to money, we used our rubber stamps and we stamped out different coin values on each page. And so children were counting money. Other people use it to tell a story that has a series to it. So whatever your imagination does, whatever your students' imaginations do, you're ready to take off with that idea. Another idea is what I call a zip bag book. So pick a theme. So you see one that's a capital A and a lowercase a and the word apple. So you need 23 bags, and away you go. Everybody has an A to Z book. The one that is to the right was an activity we sent home from the center. It was springtime, and each family went home with, I believe, 4 bags. They had a piece of paper inside to welcome them to write about what they found, but we encouraged them to take a nature walk and to find some objects. So the second item in that bag, you can just kind of see the stick that's sticking up. The little caption that this family wrote is something like, this is a branch. It came from the tree. Bambi likes to eat branches in the wintertime. And the one in front of that nice looking rock there is really a piece of city asphalt. But the youngster and his family wrote, we took a walk, we found a rock. The road is breaking up. The winter did it. And it is the nicest piece of asphalt you can imagine, but we can discuss that in later years, the difference between asphalt and rocks. The picture that's below that was one that was a class introduction book. Every family was asked to bring in a picture with a parent and their student. And in this way, they were able to show children their pictures at school, and they could talk about their families with each other. And the one on the very far left was one that I did on a home visit with families. We took different objects out, and we did a book of counting from 1 through 10, but then we made craft sticks with numbers up to 20. So the sticks that you see there actually had numbers stamped on them, 1 through 20. So not only were we going to be able to look at the pages that they made of the numbers 1 through 10, but also to be able to open their bag and take out those sticks and to organize them in numerical order. Different kinds of what I call shakers. So what are shakers good for? They're great for rhythm, for doing movement, for music lessons, but think of why it might be fun for children to do shakers. So shake things in front, behind, to the right, to the left, beside. Think of all those directional words. Think about spaces, high spaces, low spaces, medium spaces. Think about all the different kinds of things you can do in terms of fast and slow. So shakers, simple bottles, nicer if it's easier to hold top, but glue them shut so that whatever you put inside does not get lost. Rice and popcorn are really low cost kinds of things, but so are gravel pebbles. So think about what you can put inside and what kind of noise you can make. And if you don't like lots of loud noises, you're probably going to put sand in them instead of pebbles. The next picture on the right is a youngster there. Actually, that's my nephew. And that was at my daughter's wedding. So what he is holding are streamers that came from tablecloths, the plastic tablecloths, so different colors. And I sewed just a handle on the top so that they could hold them to dance with them. That was for my daughter's wedding several years ago, and we had a lovely time with the children dancing at the celebration. The one on the left is just a ring that is from a tape dispenser. Either a masking tape one would be a little bit larger, so that was a nice size to be able to use. And instead of having to sew them on, whatever, we just took streamers from the tablecloths and we tied them on. So there we have another way of doing shakers or streamers. I bet some of you have already made those kinds of experiences in your classroom. Please put them in the chat so that you nudge someone else listening to this or watching this at a later time with ways that you can use those resources. Paper plates, another really inexpensive kind of activity. The ones on the left of your picture look like this. So they are colored paper plates, all 11 colors. Browns are sometimes kind of hard to find. Black, they at least put those out for 40th birthday parties, whatever. But we found paper plates of every color of the 11 basic colors that we taught. So my grandson did a trip around his house and he looked for things of every color so that we could make a book for his baby sister. So I can't find that picture right now, but notice he had some red blocks here. So everything in his house off of his toy shelf that matched those colors, we took pictures of. And then what was so beautiful after he had done that is he sat down on the floor with his baby sister and he told her, hey, Lily, look at this color. This color is, and he would talk to her about the items and sometimes run and find that toy for him. Paper plates, because they are round, allow you to just automatically make a paper plate activity representing some object that is round. So you could ask the children or ask the parents of the children in your program at a workshop to draw a picture of something round and assemble a book right there in front of them so they can see how easy that is to do. And then they're introducing words to their child as well as an object. On the bottom is the name Chris. This was one of the activities that I did with families. They spelled out their child's name and we gave them clothespins to take home and a piece of string so they could string it up so their children could continue spelling their name and practicing it. Note, I put a line underneath each letter so that there is no doubt by the children as to which direction that letter goes. So here's some other ideas with paper plates. Again, lots of different colored plates. The one across the top, that was a red apple. So on the back side, they glued on some seeds from the apple. The next one is a hand puppet, 2 paper plates kind of laced together with a hole on the bottom in order for them to slide their hand between the 2 plates. A game of stop and go. So children had to listen and follow the commands. On the very bottom is a picture of a hat, and this was just a round plate with a slit in it cut to be a cone. Above that was an umbrella. Rainy days will happen in every part of the country, so they can make a rainy day umbrella. And also it's a great time to study the letter J. About half a paper plate is all that's needed for that project. There's a spinner on the lower left of this slide that shows different activities that can be done with the children to do activities in maybe a circle or a movement time experience or any other kinds of thoughts you could think of. And above that is a paper plate that is cut to be a type of a hat. Think about a fireman's hat cut out in that same fashion. Here's some milk lid projects, and these are not projects that I made. These I give credit to our local museum who did a summer workshop. And they were elementary students who decided what they could make in terms of different shapes. And those shapes were cut out and painted, and then the wonderful decorations added with all of those different lids. So here's other lid type projects as well. The left side, it says win, A-G-A-T-U-P. And by putting different letters in front of those letter combinations, we make new words. So we have cup, and we have bag, and we have different words that they can do beginning and ending sounds with and play with. We also have a series of 3, a red, a yellow, and a green, so that you can talk about safety things. If you can find clear lids, you will find that you can actually kind of mesh those 2 together and make them into some kind of decoration. On the bottom is a matching game made with different stickers put inside of lids. Again, those are the containers there that one of the teachers used in her classroom. So just by adding a sticker to the inside of a simple milk lid, you've made yourself some spelling options. Here's another spelling option. This is a vinyl tablecloth. You could use a shower curtain, you could use a sheet, but we used rubber stampers and we stamped out letters. And then they could take that container of alphabet letters and they could find those letters on that mat that was laid on the floor. Egg cartons. Remember, they need to be sanitized before you use them. But look at the wide variety of things that we can do. The upper left is a color activity for younger students. The next one could have different stickers inside and they would have to do discrimination skills and figure out which picture matched. The next one to the right is a caterpillar and it has some Q-tips for its little antennas on top. The next one is a little tray so they can go out searching for some small, tiny items. The one on the bottom is ping pong balls with numbers, but also has the added tongs to it so that children can be using some muscle activities as well to do that. In the middle there is the monkeys jumping on the bed that I showed you in the puppet story. Remember, simple egg carton adds to that being your base bed. On the bottom is just one single cup of an egg carton, and you could make many different animals and characters out of that by gluing them onto a craft stick. And then on the next picture is an alphabet speller made with letters. Let me show you one that I have here. And I'll try not to turn this upside down or they'll be all over me. But my name is Bev Schumacher. It was actually a 5-letter name before I got married. So I went from 5 to 10. So by adding 10, I had to put 2 egg cartons together in order to have enough places for my name to be spelled. But in this way, children can practice spelling their first and last names. At first, you might put the letters inside each cup, but eventually they should know it by memory. But look at some of the different things in that egg carton on the picture on the left. Ping pong ball, cotton balls, pom-poms, milk lids. So just a large variety of different items can be the things that you sort into those spaces. The next one on the right is a foam egg carton because this one got lots of water use. There was a 24 egg carton combination at one point that I picked up. And by just adding on a couple more letters, we were able to have alphabet from A to Z. And one of the rules about getting things donated by families is you never ask how or why you got that collection. But I had a mother who was able to provide to us a large number of corks. And we took those corks and we made letters on the end of them so we could float the letters in the water table and the children could use a fishing net to scoop it out. Those fishing nets are only going to cost you about $1 at a dollar store. Imagine this as a bathtub toy to be sent home for families, as a kitchen sink activity that families can do. And then on the lower, you can see colors and how they can practice colors just by finding different lids and saving them. So look at all the caps that can come in and figure out if you can get a variety of colors. The next one talks about using paper rolls. And I say paper rolls, I don't say toilet tubes. Recommendation is you not ask for toilet tubes. Rather, you take paper rolls and cut them down to the sizes that you need. There's some sanitation issues that you do not have control over when they are harvested from a bathroom. So keep in mind that sanitation is really important. The first 2 in the upper left of these examples here are just a section of tube with a picture or a drawing added to the front of it so they can become characters that move around in doing a story. The next one is a decoration. By using different sizes of the rolls, we can create different animals. There's a penguin there that gives you a cool idea if you're doing a lesson about animals, a butterfly, an American flag, a castle that was made. The bottom one is sections of paper rolls, and each student colored a section, and then we strung them together using a coat hanger that was bent into a circle, and they became decorations for a parent event that we had. So think of how colorful and beautiful our tables were, and the children were very proud of the things they made. Turkey season's coming up very shortly. Here's another way to make a turkey. And the one above that was actually a paint stamper that we used. We would take the paper roll, we would cut slits in it and fold it back, dip that into paint, and then use it as a stamper. Keep thinking about tactile experiences for children. 3 different ways of doing tactile exploration. One of them is a paper box. We covered it with paper just to make it look pretty. But the inside, those are sleeves that came off of a child's shirt. So now the children stretch their hands into the inside of that box, and there will be a variety of items in there for them to feel and touch and to identify. The one that is on the lower right is a sock that is stretched over a plastic cup. Again, reach your hand in and feel the items inside. And I have seen kids work so hard to see inside that cup through that hole. So make sure you look for some long socks that they can't peek inside. There's another one of those sock covering kinds of things. This is just the lid of a container, but again, it holds the item and they can feel things. The ones on the very left were actually an attempt to utilize a playground space that wasn't getting much space, and that was our fence line. So what we did is we put different items in the socks, the long tube socks, and we tied them to the fence line, and children were challenged to go over and to feel the ones that matched each other. So imagine 12 of these socks hung on the fence and 6 pairs being able to be made with the items that were in it. And of course, you'd have to move them around every day or so because they would remember where they were yesterday. So just a fun way to challenge children to use their exploration skills. Matching pairs, mittens, socks, wrapping paper, wallpaper, fabric swatches, ... What are the kinds of materials you have that you can do matching activities? The gloves, the mittens, were actually lost gloves in the lost and found. And I went, they're colorful. So we made a whole row of lost mittens. We took a Xerox copy of them on the copier, and we then just laid them out as an activity for them to match up. Matchbox cars. Kids love the little cars. So we made a parking lot. So the parking lot is a paper box lid cut in half, but we put numbers on so that they could see where the parking spots were. And then we put numbers on the cars so that they knew which ones to match up together. The other one on the right is just a board that we found, and we put some things under it in the back. They could be books or some cement blocks, and we had ramps, and we would measure to see how far they went down the ramp, which was faster, in order to make a graph or a chart to try to understand some principles of gravity and things in motion. Practice using small motor skills. Look at the one on the very far left. That is an eyelash curler. So it picks up cotton balls really, really well. The item above it is just a cup with rubber bands. Think of all the activity that children will use to get that rubber band to stretch open enough to fit over that cup. Clothespins are always a winner. These are great gadgets for extending those hand motor skills. There's a tweezer, there's a tongs, there's a paper punch, there's different kinds of clips that you could use. There is a picture of a child or a silhouette. I used a die cut machine in our district to cut out gingerbreads like this. And imagine each child with their face put on that character. And then we gave them things to do lacing with. paper punch again, paper clips on the side. Think of the small, fine motor skill of stringing something through those buttons. I have found that bread twisters, the straight kind, work really well to get through some of those holes, but it takes a little bit of concentration. On the very bottom picture are the colorful cereals. Think about doing a stringing activity at snack time where everybody has washed their hands ahead, but those are coffee stirs and they can string the cereals onto there. They can do color patterns while they're doing that. They can count how many they do, and they can eat their cereals. Their hands are clean when they start after their activity is done. The very bottom, that is a scoop for making cookies or the kind of scoop you would get for ice cream. But imagine getting a number of those and adding them to your sandbox area. These are different ideas using clothespins. So here's an idea of just writing children's names on the clothespins and having them to do a vote. So what is your favorite kind of ice cream? Do a poll as children come in for the day and they need to move their clothespin from holding space to being in the classroom. This would be a quick way to do that, but at the same time would allow you to do a count, and you could actually do graphing and charts with the children. The very bottom one on the right is just an alphabet speller. Again, this is the lid that comes off of a paper box, or the kind of trays you would get from canned goods at a store that has canned goods in the boxes on the shelf. They get thrown away when that container gets empty. So snag onto them that you can use them. Again, the importance of putting a line under the letters, because otherwise that first letter D could be a P, or it could be conceived by some children to be a Q or something else. So always put lines under those letters for them to do. Some other string activities, and those are milk lids with holes in them. You can achieve holes in them by either having somebody who runs a drill and puts a hole through with an electric drill, or I have also used the hot glue gun without any glue in it. So it's just a hot point on the end. And by holding it on there, you can actually melt the plastic and you have a way to string it. You can also use straws to do stringing things. And of course, cereals. Some people do have a preference to not use food type items because some families are in need and they may see playing with the food as something that wouldn't be as desirable. So do give that some thought in terms of cultures. Here's a make and take activity. This is one of the activities that we created for learning props so that this could be sent home with families. So see the scissors being used. The family comes in and the challenge activities that are over on one side or the numbers on the back are cut apart by the family and stored in little bags in order to take them home. But after they have cut them apart, children do challenges. So they pick a number. If they pick the number 5, you then pick a challenge activity. So one thing may say, pat yourself on your back 5 times, repeat using the opposite hand. And that does that body crossover that's so important for right and left brain hemispheres to work together. So all kinds of movement challenges with different numbers of counting up to 20 or whatever number your youngsters are working on doing. Another one of our activities that we have created is called a writing journal. And this not only gives them an activity to do, but it also challenges them to know what their student is doing. So within the writing journal that we've created, there is also information to the parents that help them to understand what does it look like to be a beginning writer? How do you hold that pencil in order to do things? And then blank pages where you choose from stickers that you can put on or create your own challenges for the student to write. And now this goes home to a student, it comes back, and the next day it can go home to another student. So over the course of time, students get to read each other's writing, and they also get a chance to be a writer and to add their thinking to the activities. Envelope books, these are made by using the envelope as the holder for a question. So this is a very hungry caterpillar story. In the light of the blank, a little egg lay on a, and I know some of you are fans of this story. So in the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. So as you go through the book, every page has something in the pocket. So these are pockets that are made by sealing the envelope as closed so that it becomes a holder. This is a wallpaper napkin book. Just making books and using the outside wrap is something more exciting of a decorative piece of wallpaper or a napkin. The dinner napkins do make a larger book for younger writers, but the luncheon size works well as well. These were books made out of boxes. So this particular one was made as a tactile book for younger learners. So they were able to feel it. We used a hot glue gun in order to add the texture and the words there, but every page is a different texture to feel. Great sturdy book to use. You can either tape things on the opposite side or you can put 2 pages together in order to make that book a little bit more sturdy. Cut away one side of the box, the top and the bottom flaps, fold it down the middle of that other short side, and you have yourself a book to work with. This is an idea for a fishing pole. This was done using the lids that come off of orange juice, lemonade, those type of containers. And we just used either a PVC pipe or wooden doweling in order to be our fishing pole line, and add in a magnet. Make your string 12 inches or less so it does not become a choke hazard around the child's neck. Things that we can easily catch. Beach balls are great because they move slowly for children. But look at the bath scrubbers. They are so easy for young children to get their hands into, and they are completely washable if you have young chewers, and they would happen to do that. On the bottom, you see catchers made with bleach bottles. They're a little bit sturdier, bleach, vinegar, anything of that nature. And note again, we've put the tape over the edges in order to not be a sharp edge. Juggling scarves offer a rich brain development activity because there's all that crossing the midline in order to play with the scarves. So this is a variety of activities that were made with milk cartons. Counting things that you could weigh on your scale in the second picture, holders for holding small parts like the cars that we were suggesting you use for your ramp and your parking lot. The very bottom was a project I watched evolve as a program collected milk cartons, and they made this igloo. It took a lot of staff time to get them glued. The bottom rings weren't so hard, the kids could help with, but as we went through the curvature part, it took a lot more work to hold them and so forth as we got them created. Notice a picture on the very far side. Those are pictures of people put on there. You could have a puppet story by using characters that you create. This is one of my favorite all-time activities. This is a milk carton or a juice box, anything that's cube shaped. And what I've done is I've cut those both down so they're about the same height. You want it to be square. We fold the lid down tight. And when we slide the two together, we now have a cube that we can make into a game. So this one happens to be different animals, a duck, a dog, a sheep, a pig. If you roll a certain animal, you have to act out that animal. Or notice some of the things that are on here as well. Answer the question of who, when, where, why, how. Name a color or find something this color. Or do a challenge like snap your fingers, do so many butterflies, swings, or whatever. Support writing. These are activities that are a little bit at a higher level. You can cut out letters and you can make your own message. You can take a story and cut it into strips. So the children have to figure out which part of the story came first, what came next. Here's some measuring challenges. You can use a string and say, we want to find something that is bigger than this. And you can go measure around a tree. You could measure lots of different shaped items that are in your classroom. You could start with a traditional shape like the length of a paper roll or the length of a pencil, but no, you can also use a discarded tie and you can make your own measuring tools. For doing read focusing, lots of children like to have something to help concentrate, so put on a pretend pair of glasses that they can look through and they can then read and point to things in the room. Make pointers by using a dowel and a pencil topper, or use a glove and put a little bit of stuffing in it and add it to a stick, and you have a pointer in that form as well. Play games with cards or use them as a base to create other things. A 2x4 label fits quite well onto a card, so you can create your own cards with different themes and purposes. Pick a story and create a prop for it. So the bottom one happened to be a snowman that we made in order to do something in January, and we filled it with some polyester filling. That's a sock that we used for the hat on top of it. The one on the right was our chickaboom tree. These were lids that came off of the top of either juice containers or off of biscuits. And we put a small piece of felt on the back so they would stick to our tree. Make practice concepts fun by making your own little flashcards. So notice the dual words: sunlight, airplane, birthday. Put them in a bowl and they're bones for the children to take out and to make compound words. The one on the right, I saw in one of my early learning classrooms that I was visiting, and what they did is played a game of peekaboo, so the children could lift the piece of fabric that was there, and they could see the picture of a friend that was hidden underneath there. Or make small bones and ask questions and ask them to feed the bone to the dog. There's lots of fun gadgets at your discount stores, and they make awesome painting kinds of activities. So look at all the cool things there and say, oh, wow, what can I do on my next trip? Or ideas get inspired from other places. Working with infants and toddlers on the floor, sometimes you want to do some stimulation. So I had staff who made little drums that would lay on the floor, and when the child pushed it, it would roll a little bit, and sometimes encourage them to move further in order to pursue it. But think of families putting pictures on there at a workshop and then taking it home, so that as they sat on the floor, there would be things they could talk about with their youngster. The one to the right were paintings of students made on a piece of corrugated. And the idea is that an 8.5 by 11 picture fit in the inside. So we put magnets on those picture frames that they made and took them home and reminded parents how important it was to display their child's artwork and to explore art together. The very bottom was a part of a social emotional study that we were doing. During snack time, the teacher would pull down one of the boxes that one of the families had made, and they would talk about their family, showing pictures of their family, favorite things they like to do, favorite foods. But each family decorated a box to represent their student. And then you could talk about how children are alike and different. And the one next to that is actually a takeoff of the idea called an airframe drum. It could be made with a picture frame and wrapped saran wrap really tight over it or tape over it. We just happen to have an abundance of PVC slices, and we use those slices to make our drums instead. It wasn't my idea. It came from a parent. We also had the designers of a variety of projects. Vicki and I have been working together for a couple of years to put resources into the hands of educators. So what you see on the left are the games that we have created. We have done them both in fabric and also in cardstock. But what was inspired by us was going on a home visit and taking a suitcase of different clothing items with us. And as we played the game, the youngster pulled items out of the suitcase to match the things that were on the game mat. And when the parent was busy doing an activity, her youngster created the image in the upper right. He pulled clothes out of his drawers and he made his own pretend friend to play with. So if you were going to be doing activity with a family and you were maybe doing a home visit, what could you put in a bag to send home or to leave on a home visit? Is there some seasonal activity that you could put together in a bag? Is there a birthday gift at birthday time for a youngster? Some kind of new baby gift if they have a new sibling in the family? Think about what you can do to build that partnership. All the partnerships we work with families to build should focus back on learning. So what can you add to your family's homes and their experiences, whether they come in for a workshop or it's something you send home? How do you enrich their experiences? Here are some of the other things. Vicki and I are truly not junk people, but we certainly understand the value of using low cost and no cost things. The newest items are the family engagement solution packs, where we put together one activity for every month of the school year. You can pick individual components as well, such as the family activity kits on the lower left, or transition games, which we offer for both kindergarten readiness and pre-K entry. And we've introduced some new games, one about health, one about safety, and one about social emotional skills. We're doing them both in English and in Spanish, and they come with both a book and the game, and then the movers and a spinner to go with it. As I said, we do games in both fabric and also in cardstock. Vicki also distributes door hangers for people who are doing home visits and miss families. We offer 14 different book titles, but we do them in English, we do them in Spanish, and many of them are also available in Arabic and Chinese. And we do professional development. This presentation today is being recorded, so it can be enjoyed at another time. Please invite other people in your program to take a look if you think some of the ideas might inspire others in your program. I asked you for a challenge, and that was to be able to pick 3 ideas from our session today that you can implement in your work, working with families and learners. I had someone attend my session and their comment was, my coworker and I came back with some wonderful ideas that we would never have thought of. Our program encourages and shows parents how to use things around the house to make learning activities instead of having to buy expensive high-tech toys. And I thank that parent educator for that beautiful comment, because that was the goal of what I hoped to have you share.
Hey, Bev, quick question from Stacy.
Yes.
Stacy asked, is the cost to get a hard copy of the slideshow?
I can make that available to you, Jeff, and we can forward that on to anybody who asks for that. How about that?
Done deal.
Okay, if that's the nudge it takes, bravo, yay, thank you for that request. Are there any ideas that were shared, Jeff, that you can share out to the rest of the people that they might not have had a chance to read?
Nope, not right now. We're good, and everybody got the link, so I think we're solid, Bev, and we're a little bit over.
Okay, we are. I tried to talk fast, but there's a limit to how fast I can talk.
I bet that's why Stacy asked for a copy of the slideshow.
Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate your being here, and good luck.
And awesome. Thanks, Stacy. Hey, Stacy, you probably get an email from me with the slideshow or from Bev. And that's it.